The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Now, this is one of those poems by Frost which have received a lot of universal acclaim. Or you can say that it is one of the most popular poems written by, composed by Robert Frost. This The title seems to be a very objective one. The road not taken. Just it seems as if the poet is narrating uh, the conditions of the road which has not been taken. However, this road is not the physical road, the seemingly the apparent road. Rather, it is the road of choices or the roads of choices. However, the poet does not tell us in the very start what he or he does not let us know in the very start what whether this road has the road which has not been taken or that has not been adopted has left a positive impact on him or a negative one. It's just an objective title, the road not taken. It seems as if it is a description of the road which has not been taken by the narrator. Now, this poem was published the in Frost's book, Anthology of Poetry, Mountain Interval in 1916. Now, remember that this poem was actually a response to Edward Thomas's uh, confusion. He was a very dear friend of Frost's, and but whenever he had to make decisions, he was always in a state of fix. He never realized or he never could make a uh, uh, decision. So uh, one day Robert Frost was going, he had uh, been strolling with Edward Thomas, this Welsh poet. Welsh is Welsh poet. uh, that is a person belonging to Wales. The two friends were strolling somewhere in some natural surroundings. However, when they reached a place where there was a folk sort of a thing, a crossroads sort of a thing, Edward Thomas was very confused which way to uh, follow. He was very confused which path to adopt. So this poem is actually a response to uh, the constant confusion Thomas was going through in making choices in his life. So, in a way, through this poem, Frost was making fun of Edward Thomas. How and he, after writing this poem, he sent this to Thomas as well, in order to tell him, in order to relieve him of this dilemma he was going through each and every day of his life. And it is believed, or rather it is said, that after reading this poem, or this poem had such a strong impact on Thomas, that he did not repeat the same he did not go through the same confusion in making choices again in his life. So this poem is basically a very pictorial poem. You can create a pictorial imagery in your mind. However, I have ventured to create a certain a small picture for you in order to explain what the poem is all about. So let's move on to the setting of the poem. The setting of the poem is basically a yellow forest. Now, this term yellow forest, yellow woods is very important, and the poet makes a direct start by telling you about the setting, and that is yellow woods. Now, as you can see here, there is a yellow forest. Uh, and yellow forest is basically indicating the autumn season. So the poet is over here telling you about the this forest which has been totally overtaken by autumn, which uh, tells us that the place where the poet is standing on, or where the poet is, he is the because of the fall, that is autumn. The many leaves have fallen on the paths, and on the very onset in the very onset of the poem, he says that two roads diverged in a wood. So in a yellow wood, here you come to know that there are two paths, and both of them seemed to be very attractive for the poet. uh, it is morning, and you come to know in the course of the poem as well, it means that whatever decision he is going to make right now at the very onset, it is going to impact him for his life. And it is not only the subjective experience of the narrator or the poet, it is also our experience as well. We go through such situations every day, starting from which field to follow, which profession to follow, which even if you come to the daily chores, what to cook and what not to cook. So these things keep on impacting your lives forever. Sometimes you cook something which is a favorite of all. However, uh, uh, one person from the family, after all your toil in the kitchen, just says that no, it's not that tasty. The meal that you cooked, the same dish that you cooked last time, was tastier than this one. It means you are at once shaken. Similarly, uh, and you question if your decision was right or wrong. Similarly, the poet is going through a very, he is facing a dilemma if he should follow the path, which path he should follow, because both these paths were leading towards the thicker forest. And the term that the poet uses is undergrowth, which means that the whichever road the narrator follows, he would be later on, uh, you know, whatever is going to happen in the future is a mystery for him, because the forest is getting thicker and thicker, denser and denser with the passage of time or with the passage of his journey. So, keeping before starting the text or before reading the text, just keep in mind that right now the poet is, or the narrator is, standing at a point in near the forest where he is compelled to make choices. He And what sort of a choice it is it, whether to follow one path or the other. So he is basically standing on a fork. Let's move on to the text of the poem. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. Now, diverged means separated. The poet has, without any elaborate introductions, he's telling you directly about the dilemma he's facing. He was going through a forest, and uh, at one point he reaches a point in the forest where he's compelled to choose one of the two roads that are separating in a yellow wood. Now, here the term yellow means yellow wood is indicating autumn or fall, the season autumn, which is uh, indicating maturity. However, yellow can also be interpreted in many ways. The color yellow, it is an extreme color. On one's hand, yellow color symbolizes brightness, positivity, friendship, um, optimism, hope. However, on the other side, it represents jealousy. It represents some negativity as well, uh, because wherever there are extremes, ultimately that thing is bound to be a bit problematic. So there, he says that right now I'm standing on a brink of a forest, and sorry I could not travel both. Now, here the term sorry is very important because it is foreshadowing that the conclusion of this poem is not going to be very optimistic, very hopeful. So, this word sorry, it tells you that the narrator is feeling bad. He's regretting that he could not travel both the roads. If you sometimes in your lives you have to make such choices where you cannot undo whatever you have done at one stage of your life. So he says that sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Why? Because I was only one traveler. Long I stood. I stood there for a long time. I stood on the fork for a long time before making my choice and looked down one as far as I could to where it went in the undergrowth. Now, this is enjambment, where the poet is completing one idea in multiple lines. So he says that what how I decided to reach a suitable conclusion. I stood there on the fork for quite some time, and I started to look at one path which was going inside inside these woods, inside this forest. And when I see that it was bending towards the undergrowth, it was bending towards the place where the vegetation had thickened. There was more vegetation there. So he says that after looking at that path for a long time, he says, then took the other. Instead of going towards the path which I had been looking at, on which I have been speculating for quite some time, I took the other one, as just as fair. It seemed to me as beautiful as the first one. However, he says, and having perhaps the better claim, and it was possible, I thought that possibly this the other road is going to be more productive, it is going to give me better results, because it was grassy and wanted wear. I chose the other one only because it had more grass, it was covered with more vegetation, and wanted where it needed people to walk on it. It had not been trodden much by. people, though as for that the passing there had warned them really about the same. He says this was my perception that uh, it wanted wear, but on a second thought, I realized that both of them had been used almost in the same, by the same number of people. It does not. He says that I did not understand at that time that both the roads were actually had been trodden by the same number of people. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. So he says that in order to have a better picture of what challenges I am going to face because of my choice, because of the path I am adopting, I tried to have a look at both at both the roads. Both had been covered by leaves because of the fall. But the most interesting part is, he says, no step had trodden black. There was no footstep that could guide me, that could tell me if I should be adopting this way or not. Oh, now here we have a feeling of regret. So, this reminds us of the word sorry in the second, used in the second line. I kept the first for another day. Oh is it's an interjection which tells you it gives you a feeling of despair. Maybe it is uh, uh, pessimism, maybe it is regret. That depends on uh, how your experiences are. And he says, oh I kept the first for another day. I thought that I should choose the second one, and if I get a chance. And right now he's not using any conditional. He does not say if I get a chance. He says I would be uh, uh, I would be reserving the first uh, path for another day, for another moment of my life, and I'm going to make another choice, yet knowing how way leads on to way. So, this is the dilemma that every person faces. That a we all know that once we make choices, we cannot make U turns. The same is happening with the poet. He says that in order to console myself, I said that okay, I can go back on the other path some other day, but right now I have to adopt the second one. So he says that I knew that I won't be able to come back, yet I did not accept it. And this happens with everyone. Everyone knows that what sort of constraints he faces in life. However, we forget or rather, we fail to accept this. I doubted if I should ever come back. He says that I doubted even at that time. I was aware of the fact if I should ever be given a chance to return and to make another choice. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Now, this is the third time the poet says a sigh. Oh, sorry. So all these feelings, they create a mood of they create an effect of regret. So he says that he is telling you about his future. He says that uh, in the future, somewhere ages and ages hence, I will be from today, years from today, I am going to tell this with a sigh that two roads diverged in a word, and I took the one less traveled by. I made a decision that is not made by many. I made a decision, I made a choice that is not followed by many, by a multitude. I chose a path which is chosen by very few people, and that has made all the difference. And whatever has occurred in my life, whatever has happened in my life, is actually the result of that choice. Now interestingly, see, this third uh, uh, line of the last stanza is actually a repetition of the first line, and he does not use sorry over here. He says he is not regretting. However, there is a dash, a hyphen, and I, and then there is a dash. It shows that he is speculating. And after speculating, after some, some, uh, after some thought, he has reached a realization that a, a realization and this realization, whatever that realization is, we are going to discuss it a bit later. uh, he has accepted his fate. He has accepted that it is not the it is not another person who who had an impact on my choice, who influenced my choice. Rather, he says, I took the one less traveled by. I was the one who uh, uh, who opted for a path which is not followed by many, and that has made all the difference. And then he realizes that the whole of the of his future has been impacted, it has been influenced by his own decision that he made ages and ages before. Not now. It is not a decision of a second. He did not go for it by what you can say. He did not go for that suddenly. He waited. He thought. And after his thought, he, instead of following the first path, he went on the second one. Now, we'll continue this in the next part of the presentation. Now, in the next section, you would find a brief account of the points that need to be included in your critical appreciation. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. We have already done the background of the poem regarding Edward Thomas's relationship with, with Robert Frost, and let's move on to the rhetorical devices. First of all, the rhyme scheme of every quintain means a stanza having 5 lines. So there are 4 quintains, and the rhyme scheme goes A B A A B. So this set pattern is intentionally used by the poet to give the poem a lyrical quality. The themes, even the poem is very short, we need to understand that there are this poem has a number of themes. On the very onset, we realize that the first theme the poet uh, discusses in his poem is the choices or the alternatives we face in life. These are not the any specific choices or any specific alternatives. Rather, they are you can consider each and every choice that you make in your life as a choice that changes your life, that is very very that impacts your life, that uh, totally changes your life. So these choices are, and you go through these choices every day. It is not only the it's not a rare occasion that you make these choices. You go through this ordeal almost every day, and every choice seems to be as serious, as problematic as uh, a- any other. Now, it is not only the choices. The second important theme is that these choices, they result in something. Times your choices are prove correct, and in most times they are not. And the poet, through the description of his feelings after his choice, he is telling you about the consequences that one faces after making a certain choice. And he here specifically, he is feeling regret. It means that the choice impacted negatively. So then, because the choice did not prove very fruitful, he faces there is a theme of regret and disappointment as well. You feel that I've already counted that at three incidents, the poet is using such words like sorry with a sigh, and there was something in the third stanza which um, I'm not remembering it right now. Um, I'll remember it somewhere later. Okay. Then the poet is feeling disappointed because of this choice. Hope versus hopelessness. See, he says that how do we know that there is a clash between these two phenomenons? Because when he makes his choice, he tells you clearly that I kept the first for another day. So it means that he's hopeful that even if he makes the wrong choice, he can always come back and redo his decision. However, life does not always give you a second chance. It is very rare that you get a second chance to undo whatever you have done, to erase whatever you bad has happened to you, and to go for another option which would prove more fruitful. The theme of journey is also there. And how do we know that the theme of journey is used? He is using the word traveled, he's using went. So these tell you about the journey, about the theme of journey. However, these journeys are not simple journeys that you make from one place to another. These journeys are actually the journey of it's the journey of your life. And through journey of your life, you are being told that every day in every journey you are going to make choices. Then there is, because he's a typically New English poet, New England poet of New England, you can also call him. His poetry cannot be uh, complete without the mention of nature. Over here, nature has been used as something which is open to choices. The yellow woods, they are, and then there are leaves, and then there is undergrowth. So all these references are references to nature, and nature is giving you opportunity. They are Nature is giving you chances to make your choices. Then there is a theme of confusion and doubt as well. How choices should be made, whether your choices are going to be productive, they are going to prove fruitful or not. The last or you can find other themes as well. However, the most one of the most important themes that can be found here can is fate versus free will. Fate is something that see, man is always man seems to be at the center of all activity. However, at many occasions you would find that it is not his free will that had been, or his choice that uh, kept him going. Rather, he was fated to take this decision. And in at many moments in your life, you realize that fate plays a very important role in your life. Uh, it is fate that compels him to make the decision of choosing a path which is not traveled by many. And then uh, a person, uh, even if you are not a believer of fate, blames an other phenomenon for his, let's say, victory, or victory not victory, rather for his failure. Here he says that no, it is not the path that that caused a negative impact on my life. Rather, it was my choice to be different from the group, from to be different from others, that I was compelled to make this choice. And frankly speaking, it is actually his fate. So, the literary devices that have been employed in the poem are first of all, you are going to tell what genre does this poem belong. It belongs to the genre of both lyrical poetry and narrative poetry. It is a nature lyric. It tells you about nature and its impact on human beings. And why is nature such an important phenomenon in Frost's poetry is because of the influence of New England. Secondly, it is a narrative poetry. It is a narrative poem which tells you about an incident that goes on, and here you find a proper narrator as well. Interestingly, the narrator uses the word I, the pronoun I only for himself, which show he is not indicating directly that this poem has an autobiographical element as well, that is his relation with, or his episode with Edward Thomas. However, it is an incident, and he is not blaming. Uh, in the course of the poem, he's not blaming any other person for his choice. He is telling you the incident of his own life in first person narrative, in first person singular narrative point of view, what you may call. Then you find a metaphor here, and the metaphor of yellow wood is there. Mainly, it overshadows the whole poem. And here, the yellow wood is symbolic of the wood of autumn, where there is where leaves have scattered all around, where there is some sort of there is some uh, foreshadowing of something not positive to happen because of his choice. Then there is a symbol, or there are certain symbols as well here. uh, Undergrowth is referring to the confusion, to the mystery of life. uh, you think that being a rational person, you need to analyze the situation very carefully. You need to weigh the WEIGH, weigh the consequences of your choices. However, still, this undergrowth also tells you growth also tells you that it is ultimately fate that is going to be at play, and you would be accord it is it is fate that is going to compel you to make a certain decision. Irony has also been used by the term, perhaps the better claim. Here, you know that uh, this person, before making the choice, believes that maybe he is going to have a better future. However, we come to know that no, it's not the case. And then the irony of fate as well, a person believes that whatever he is deciding is because of his own analytical skills, because of his own uh, uh, ability to judge right from wrong. However, it is not the case. Then the alliteration has been used, wanted where it emphasizes the need for some uh, wearing. Okay, wearing is used here as wearing off, it needed to be used. Then there is a repetition of line 1 in the first in the last stanza, in the it's the 18th line probably of the poem, which tells you again, two roads diverged in a yellow wood and I. So then the mood of the poem is that of regret. And how do we come to know about it? In the second line, you have sorry, and in the last stanza, he says, "With us, I shall be telling this with a sigh." Uh, and then there is, in the third stanza, there is an interjection of and oh, there is the interjection "oh," which tells you that the poet is regretting his decision. So, this brings us to the end of the poem, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. See you in the next video.